The data infrastructure you're currently building probably won't last. Now, as a consultant, I come in to a lot of situations where I have to kind of figure out what's going on with someone's data. In some cases, it just needs a little tweaking, but in other cases, it honestly needs an entire refresh. Whatever was built is either half done, half finished, half thought, and there's just really a lack of good design or some sort of core central idea behind it. And now there's a ton of reasons that this occurs. And one of those many reasons is obviously because sometimes we as data teams get pushed too fast, too hard to deliver things, and we don't get a good amount of time to deliver the right thing. But there's also a lot of things that we can try to control to try to ensure that our data infrastructure that we're planning to build, that we want to last, we've worked hard to develop it, and in turn, there are things we can do to ensure that that happens. So in this video, let's talk about how we can ensure your data infrastructure lasts, but first by talking about things that cause data infrastructure not to. So point number one is resume and vendor-driven development. Now, I've already written an article on both these topics, both resume-driven development and vendor-driven design, and their impacts. And there are a lot of reasons that teams kind of fall into this trap. One of the many reasons is that it might be a team's first time getting the opportunity to set up their own data infrastructure. So they do what many of us do, and they look up a ton of articles, many of which come from vendors and people who maybe were designing systems for very specific problems. And in turn, they kind of put together and cobble together an idea of what they think their data infrastructure should look like. But here's the truth. If you go and you talk to a vendor, regardless, most of those account executives and sales engineers will tell you everything you want to hear. Their tool is the answer. You just have to build the solution the way that they think. One manager I was talking to of data analytics talked about how they felt that. They felt like early on in their career, naively, they just kind of listened to vendors and why would they lie to them, or why would they at least leave out information? Because that's usually what happens. Sometimes the vendors don't know any better. Sometimes the account executives don't all have all the details either. And even if they did, they might not know those fine nuanced bits of what could break where. But it's not uncommon to have some solution that you picked, let's say it's an ETL tool, and 8 months down the line, you figure out it can't do something. It can't access some data that's on-prem or some specific weird issue that because there's a firewall, whatever the nuance is, it no longer can support your data infrastructure. So how do you avoid this problem? And here's just a few quick tips. One, go talk to other data engineers and managers and directors who have already used the tool. This is probably one of the best things you can do, especially people who are agnostic to the tool, because they'll often tell you, hey, don't use this tool because here's some problems we ran into it, or do, please use this tool. This has been great. We've had a great experience. Maybe they've got some nuances in there too, because no tool is perfect. I think that's what's really important to understand. No tool I've ever used has everything that I've ever needed. There's always been some level of me having to tweak something or figuring out some workaround for certain specific edge cases. 2, read agnostic sources of information, whether that's some level of research paper or from non-affiliated consultants, people who aren't connected, because a lot of consultants, even I am an advisor of certain solutions, so there is some tendency for us to be biased. And so it's better to, at the very least, read from multiple consultants or other more agnostic sources to ensure you're picking tools that really benefit you. And honestly, everything you read should be taken with a grain of salt, because most people in the industry have some connection, whether it's a friend or maybe financial benefits that connect them to a certain method or process or vendor. Finally, start with the business goals. Like, at the end of the day, whatever system you're designing, it needs to be built around solving your business problems and creating positive outcomes for it. And if you're starting with what tools are out there and how to design different data infrastructure, not starting with what problems are we even trying to solve, you're already headed in the wrong direction. So make sure, as always, start with the business in mind. Next, another very key problem, and I say it's a key problem because honestly, most being like 30% of my clients come from this space, which is most people have this key person dependency issue. Sometimes it's key data team, if it's like a small team of 2 or 3 people, where someone will set up some data infrastructure, or maybe a small team of people will set up some data infrastructure. They will be the only ones that understand how it operates. They will limit the documentation because they're busy for whatever reason, or maybe they create documentation, but really the only people that understand it is the people who are building it. And so no one notices this problem, because as long as that person or the data team is there, things are flowing fine, right? You don't know that maybe one of the analysts is waking up every morning at 6 a.m. to make sure that some pipeline is running, because every once in a while something breaks. This works until those people leave, right? And then maybe for a few months or a few weeks, things are fine. And I've seen this happen. it'll be months and nothing goes wrong. But then something changes. Something about the pipeline, something about the sources, something about the needs of the company changes. And maybe they hired someone to replace those prior teams or that individual. But sometimes, again, because a lack of documentation or something similar, no one really knows why decisions were made. Honestly, sometimes you don't even know where scripts are running. I've had that problem where you're trying to find where a script is even running. You're like, I see data is coming in. It's not clear what system's even running it. And you find out a company that is mostly using GCP has one random EC2 instance somewhere that no one knew existed that's running these scripts. It's got some cron job for some reason running it instead of, something that would be a better fit, but that's just how it's set up. And that happens more often than you think. There's just these random jobs that exist. And that's sometimes why a big part of my first few steps of working with clients is trying to figure out, where do all your integrations live? Where do all your scripts live? And sometimes it's easy. And sometimes they have 30 different places that scripts all live. So how do we kind of avoid this key person dependency issue? Now, first and foremost, obviously, is documentation, right? If you can make good documentation, and that means designs, right? Like, tell me, and I say tell me selfishly because I'm the consultant that's going to come in and fix it or try to support it later on, where all your scripts are running, right? Keep that information somewhere. Have the types of scripts that are running, where they're running, what tools are being used, key design decisions, right? Because I think that's always important. Oftentimes, when I was younger, I'd come into projects and I'd be like, why would they make these design decisions? It seems, unintelligent or something. But obviously, after a week of looking at things, I'd be like, oh no, it totally makes sense because they had to do some workaround. And so sometimes you might feel like a design decision didn't make sense until you look at the big picture. Next, if you can do some form of cross-training, that's always great. And it doesn't have to be that you have enough engineers and you cross-train all of them, because most companies sometimes have one IT person. But if you have other semi-technical people, and at the very least, you can help them understand why you're making certain decisions. That way, when someone else comes in, they can at least be fed this information through a person and not just through some documentation. That really helps them get up to speed quickly. And again, this is me selfishly just giving you what I feel as a consultant. And now I want to talk about a very, very common issue that many of us have, because we love going off and building things and we don't always spend enough time talking with the business. And the truth is, I've already kind of talked about this, but you need to build data infrastructure with the business in mind, right? At the end of the day, we don't build things in silos. We're not building data infrastructure for the sake of data infrastructure. We need to communicate with the business and understand, what is it that you want from us? Why are we building this data warehouse? Is it even valuable? Does it actually provide anything for you? Or are you just saying it because you read it somewhere on someone's blog and you think you need a data warehouse? Because here's what happens, and here's an exact example of what happens when you don't talk to the business. I had a project once where they had a data warehouse, they had all the data pipelines, they had dashboards, and no one was using them because they were never useful to begin with. Whoever built them probably spent a lot of time isolated, building things off on their own. And then when they eventually showed it, either they weren't trusted, they weren't actually helpful. And so it was an easy rebuild because no one was using the data warehouse anyways. It's easy to say, hey, we don't even need this old data warehouse, because no one's using it because it was never actually connected to the business in the first place. Now, in order to fix this problem, you just have to start with business outcomes. Talk to the business and figure out, why am I building this? What are the metrics that you want? And then go a level deeper. And why do you want to know those metrics? What are you going to change with those metrics? Like, how are you going to actually control the business with those metrics? What problems are you solving? Ask questions. Really dig down into the why to understand the business. Because just giving some metrics doesn't actually tell you, but why do you want these metrics? What does this actually drive? And also, keep the business in the loop, because they are going to do their best to describe what they want. And if you've ever worked with the business, you know that more than likely it's not exactly what they want. You're going to have to work with them, iterate, kind of keep refining whatever you're building. Maybe the first iteration is good, but you just need to keep refining it a little bit at a time. And eventually you end up with what they want. And that way they also feel like they've bought into the idea, and it wasn't just them feeling like you eventually brought them the solution because you built it in isolation. So it's really important to keep them in the loop, communicating, showing your progress, showing whether it's a dashboard or some initial metrics or some initial numbers, and being like, hey, do these numbers look right? I do that all the time, where I gut check with clients where I'm like, hey, here are the numbers I'm getting right now. I haven't even built the dashboard, but they sound right, because I don't want to go off and build a dashboard, and the first time they see those numbers, they're like, those are way off. The first time I want them to see that dashboard, I want them to already feel like the numbers are at the very least in the right ballpark, if not right. Because if they're 3 times what they should be, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. Even if it's exactly what they wanted in terms of what it looks like, if you're way off in numbers, they're going to immediately start having distrust of that system. So you want to make sure that before you finish the project, you are already asking them, hey, this is the data that I'm getting. Does that sound right? Keep them in that loop, keep iterating, keep improving, keep building. The truth is, when you build data infrastructure, you need to build it with a purpose. It can't just be built in isolation. You want to build it to help solve business problems, and you don't want to be driven by vendors or your resume. You want it to be driven by what problems you're solving and the outcomes you want to drive. With it, guys, I want to say thanks so much for watching this video. Hopefully it's helpful for those out there trying to build better data infrastructure, and I will see y'all in the next one. Thanks all, and goodbye.